My painting looks terrible. What do I do now? Perhaps you felt this way about a painting on your easel. You're past the block-in stage, which is really exciting, but you're not quite yet to the finishing stages, and somewhere along the way, you've lost the plot. It's not looking the way that you want it to. We've all been there. Here are my tips for the most important thing to do when you've reached this point in a painting, and then 2 factors that you must consider to help get the painting back on track and finish so it looks like the picture that you have in your mind. First, do not pull out the scraper or the turpentined paper towel and start wiping or scraping away the painting. The most important thing when you reach this point of frustration and confusion about the painting's direction is to step away. Step away from the painting. I have ruined quite a few paintings by not following this piece of advice and continued to barrel through on the painting thinking it's not working, I certainly must put 100 more brushstrokes down without understanding what those brushstrokes were doing. And I eventually overworked the painting, and I should have just left it, stepped away, and seen what was beginning to go wrong instead of trying to push through and then barreling down the hill of going worse and worse and worse, making further bad decisions. Step away from the painting. Take a break. Come back with fresh eyes. Thank me later when you have half of your paintings saved from your own emotional state. Okay, the 2 important factors to consider when you've reached this point in the painting. First, it has nothing to do with you or the painting. Look around at your environment. Has it been over an hour since you took a break or stepped back or got a sip of water? It's time to take a break, sit back, get a drink of water, stretch, go and look out the window, maybe step in some grass, and then come back to the painting. Give yourself a break. Is your palette extremely disorganized? Again, another environmental thing. Nothing to do with you or your artistic skill. Look outside of yourself at what can be affecting you. Clean up the palette. Are your brushes super dirty? Maybe this is why the color is becoming muddy, because you're not wiping them off effectively in between color mixtures. Wipe the brushes. Clean up your area so that your brain can focus. Is your washing machine constantly dinging and reminding you that you need to come fold me or move me over to the dryer? Take care of that. Quiet the noise in your environment so that you can think and focus. I have spent a lot of time trying to push through these things, not realizing, oh, even the light above me in the studio, it's going right into my eye, and that's what's giving me the headache that I'm having, rather than these problems on the painting. It's my environment that's affecting me. So first, before you, again, pull out the scraper or the paper towel or throw the painting in the trash, step back and then consider your environment. The second factor that you will next want to, once you've figured those 2 things out first, is now consider the questions that you're asking yourself. When we become frustrated, we begin to have very emotional responses rather than rational responses. When we become frustrated at our painting, the questions in our mind shift from, what is this value? What is this color temperature shift? What is this edge? To, why is this edge so ugly? Why are my colors so ugly? Why can't I control my brush strokes? Why is this painting so bad? Those questions are never going to lead to a better painting because they ultimately are all just beating up on yourself. So this is where the stepping away really helps. Calm yourself down before you then come to the easel and ask yourself visual questions rather than emotional questions. Have my values become disorganized? And are the overall big shapes in this painting no longer staying true to the vision that I had for them at the beginning and the preparatory sketch that I did in preparation for this painting? Step back, take a picture of the painting, throw it into black and white on your phone, and check the values. Oh, my reflected light in this vase is as light as the light on my other still life item. That's why the light is no longer reading and the shapes are now jumping all over the place and my visual intention is so muddied. There you go. There's the solution. It actually wasn't that difficult. Next, what are my colors doing? Again, we come back to the environmental issues. Potentially because you were not giving yourself a break and not really paying attention to the practice of painting, controlling your palette, controlling your brushes, all of your colors are now becoming an amalgam of the same color because you're not wiping them clean. Potentially, that's the reason the color temperature on your painting is not reading the way that it should. That's why we check those things first. Now you've checked that, now you can come, okay, why? What was happening? Maybe the brushes weren't clean, but maybe you just are focusing too intently on one area of the painting or you really love this particular pigment on your palette and it's just getting into every color mixture and you need to rein yourself in and get your color under control. Next would be paint texture. Especially when we start to become frustrated, we can do one of two things. We can either destroy all the texture that's there in the painting and ruin beautiful brushstrokes that we had by constantly, licking the canvas and trying just frantically to figure out what's wrong, thinking with the brush in our hand. Or we put too much paint onto the brush and start frantically applying paint, thinking, okay, well, it's not working this way, so maybe if I just put some luscious brushstrokes on the top, it'll start to look like a sergeant. Neither of these things are really going to help your painting. So you could do one of two things. Either step back, look at the places that you've destroyed your texture and need to rebuild with clear, defined strokes, or look at where things have gotten out of control, potentially get out a soft bristled brush, and without destroying, we're not wiping away what's there, we're just knocking down the edges so that the form can start to read as a whole again, and the painting starts to become more unified. Look at the texture. Linked directly with the texture is the final visual question that I would ask myself. By the time you've asked yourself these questions, you're already going to have a path laid out in front of you, like rolling out, showing you what your painting needs. The final question would be linked to the texture, the paint quality, but it's, what are my edges doing? Maybe because you've licked the canvas so much and destroyed everything, you need to establish some hard edges. Rein the form in with some hard edges placed throughout the painting because everything is just becoming one big soup of lost edges. Or maybe everything is starting to look plastic and very unnatural because in your franticness to try to figure out the problem or just throughout the process of the painting, you've gotten very hard edges everywhere. Where can you put a soft edge? Potentially as you knock down some of those ridges, you're gonna find some of those soft edges. Soft edges are gonna create this feeling of naturalism. As I just said, once you've asked yourself one or two of these questions, the answers are going to start coming to you. The painting will be telling you what it needs. And if you've stepped away, considered your environment, and started to ask yourself visual questions rather than emotional questions, you will be in a place to be able to listen to what the painting is saying. You're not alone in reaching a point in your painting that it's looking very different than you ever expected. You're not sure how to rein it in or if it was even a good idea in the first place. Please don't destroy the painting. Step away, consider these two factors, and finish the painting and give it to a gift to the world as the gift that it is. The world deserves to see your art. And please comment below what was the most stressful or frustrating painting position you ever got into and how you got out of it. I'd love to learn more. Bonus tip, when you step away from your painting, reach out to the community of artists that you are painting with to get advice about the painting. Get a fresh set of eyes. Maybe you don't have a community like this that you can reach out to get help during the painting process, even if it's going very well or going very poorly. This is why I have created Broadcasting Brushers. It's an online life painting group. We meet twice a month for 3 hours, and we paint together in 4K resolution on YouTube. My painting and my palette are live streaming, so you can see my painting as it moves through the stages and often gets to a ugly stage that I then have to rein back in. And you can also see live streamed what I am painting so that you can paint along with me. We have over 60 people around the world painting together twice a month. I hope you'll consider coming to paint with us and joining our community.